Xbox pre-orders came and went, but there is a little good news. Today is a good day potentially because Microsoft, as they said they would, opened up pre-orders for their next generation consoles, the X and the S, right on time at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, and depending on where you are in the world, it's a different time throughout the day. Microsoft opened up pre-orders on their websites. Now, other retailers were supposed to, but we'll get to that in a second, and very quickly things went off the rails. As somewhat predicted, there was a lot of demand for the consoles, and Microsoft's site quickly crashed. It was very sluggish. You kept hitting refresh, you would get into your cart, then kicked out of your cart. Consoles were moving in and out of availability effectively. And at the end of the day, the site really took a hit with Microsoft's CMO, Chris Capossela, saying, hey, traffic was way, way high during the demand, which for Microsoft is honestly a good problem to have. The bad side is if you're somebody like myself trying to get a console, it gets a very frustrating experience. Thankfully, I did get an order in for a Series X. I did not order the Series S, but I should hopefully, knock on wood, have a Series X headed my way. And then there were the other sites. So what was supposed to happen is that at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Microsoft, Amazon, Best Buy, and a whole bunch of other retail outlets were supposed to go online with their pre-orders that may have alleviated some pressure from Microsoft's website, but both Best Buy and Amazon had a really hard time getting it out the door. Those sites did not go online for pre-orders for at least 45 minutes after, Microsoft's site went online, which had a cascading effect of everybody rushing to Microsoft's site, and which is probably why the site crashed. That being said, Amazon did eventually open up their website, and so did Best Buy, and just about every single site that I had checked at the time of this recording was showing that they were out of stock, which is just par for the course for every single console launch that I can remember, that they just sell out incredibly quickly. I mean, that's just how these things go. And so PlayStation was not immune to this. PlayStation actually had, I think, a rougher launch because while Microsoft said, hey, at this time and date, that's when pre-orders open, when it came to the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation even acknowledged that things did not go smoothly because retailers just sort of opened it up and there was a panic rush to various websites trying to find availability. And then, of course, they sold out too. No surprising here. The Xbox One sold out on its launch cycle, and so did the PlayStation 4, and so did the original. It's just the way things go. Now, there is some sort of bad news along this thing. Because if you remember Xbox All Access initially for the Xbox One, part of the promise was that, hey, you'd eventually be able to upgrade to these new consoles. Well, everybody who's in that program that was trying to do this pretty much got screwed because by the time you could figure out how to do that, everything was already gone. And that's pretty much the story for everybody. If you had to make any decision other than buy and you're hitting F5 and you had, I think I had 10 tabs open, which again is not helping the situation. I'm fully aware. Hitting refresh, trying to get things through. It's just, there was no way to get a console. They sold out incredibly quickly. Now, there are three ways, at least three ways I know of that you can still get a console potentially before launch. First off, Microsoft actually said, hey, we are going to try to have more consoles available before launch. So depending on when and where those things go online, we don't know the exact answer yet of when and how Microsoft is going to do additional pre-orders if they can get those consoles over and allocated. But there is still a small chance that you might be able to get an official pre-order in once the next batch does arrive. So be on the lookout for that. So that is your first thing. So you got to be scouring the internet and looking from clues from Microsoft about when the next batch of pre-orders is going to potentially drop. The second way is to be lucky. Now, not lucky like I was where you just kept smashing F5 to get yourself a console, but Taco Bell is going to quite literally be giving these things away, much like they do every year. I think it's another every 10 minutes or every 15-minute console deal. So that is the second way. The third way, which is probably the quote unquote easiest way if you can't find an actual pre-order, is to actually walk your butt to a retail outlet. It's very, very likely that retail stores are going to have a small allocation for people who are actually waiting in line at the stores because that's still lucrative because then they're going to hope you're going to buy a controller and some other stuff. And so retail outlets, you need to be checking locally to see if they are going to be getting any retail, actual shipments that you can then go try to get your hands on. Now, you might have to get there a little early and get in line and wait, but if you really want the console on day one, that is going to be your best way to do it. But what I do not recommend is buying one from Craigslist or eBay or all that stuff because they are going to be coming at a premium. And so that is just not, you don't want to reward bad behavior. So those are the primary ways that you're going to be able to get your hands on a console. If you guys were able to pre-order one, I would love to know what you guys ended up with. I think there's going to be a really strong, I take that back. I think the long term, like over the life cycle of this console, the Series S is going to outsell the Series X. I think that's just logical. It's significantly fewer dollars than the X. That being said, the people who like are buying day one, like myself, are pretty much hardcore console gamers. And so they are probably going for the world's most powerful console. That's exactly what I pre-ordered, and that is what I'm waiting for. And so that will be a good thing for initial shipment. I think Microsoft is going to sell some more X's than S's, but I think around the holiday season and beyond, the S is going to be significantly more popular long term. And so if you're still struggling about which one to buy, first off, you don't have to worry because you're going to have some trouble getting your hands on it anyway. The easiest way to think about it is look at your TV. If your TV is a 1080p TV and you're not planning to buy a 4K TV, buy the S. You will be extremely happy with it. You'll get everything the X does, but for the S at a lower price. If you have a 4K TV, and especially if you have HDMI 2.1, which I need to check to see if that impacts, I bet it does impact the S. Either way, if you have a 4K TV, you want the X. That is just the way to go. I'm going to be really curious though to see long-term how the S holds out on a 4K TV, because realistically, if you could play 4K at like 30 frames per second, which is honestly what most of us are used to on the console side, it might actually work out. So there you go, guys. The consoles have sold out. PlayStations have sold out. Xbox has sold out. The next generation console battles, I would say well underway, but I think that's been happening for a very long time. The other benefit here too is keep your eyes open for Game Pass. That is going to be the sort of ace in the sleeve, because if you can find a deal or a way to structure it so that you get some Game Pass time with your new console, that can really help you save up front. That way you don't have to go buy a console and a game and you're just at $15 a month. Microsoft did now say 15 million subscribers in the Xbox Game Pass family, and so that is a big deal for them. Xbox orders are out. If more open up, if more of these things come along, I will hopefully be able to have a little bit of a heads up and be able to let you guys know. That will be my hope. It's going to be I'm going to have to effectively depend on Microsoft to let us know, because there's no way to preempt pre-orders unless you work at a third-party retailer. Then let me know if you guys think you're getting any more, so that way I can keep everybody on this channel up to date on how to get a console before the holiday seasons, or realistically closer to that launch cycle. Hit that subscribe button, ding the little Liberty Bell or whatever the hell you want to call it, and we'll catch all of you right back here next time.